So without further ado, it is my honor to introduce Dr. Berry from the Tukwila School District.
Thank you, Andrea, Chamber Board of Directors, members, and guests. I am Dr. Judy Berry, Interim Superintendent of the Tukwila School District, and have been in that position since August 2017. Prior to that time, I served in the capacity of Deputy Superintendent. It is my great privilege to be part of a progressive region of the country where there is a great diversity of workforce opportunities for individuals who come from all over the world. Being from the Great Lakes state of Michigan, one of the states hit hardest during the not-too-distant economic recession, I know firsthand what the lack of work opportunities impact is on whole communities. That is, citizenry is hampered from participating fully in local commerce as well as in social causes for the betterment of community. So as a local school district, what is the state of our schools and our commitment to building stronger communities together? Before I address the question on commitment to each of you who represent the industries and organizations that help create a vibrant region, let me share with you a little bit about the district. Tukwila School District is a small school district among giants in the Roadmap Project region. But we're mighty, and yes, we are the best kept secret. We work collectively with 6 other school districts to ensure all students have the best opportunities to succeed in K-12 and beyond. For Tukwila in particular, it was necessary this year for us to begin a continuous improvement process of shedding some of our old skin of being a bureaucratic organization and to begin the process of becoming a learning organization. In other words, we had to internalize the need to become nimble and to make data-driven decisions so that our students could align their futures with opportunities that would be available to them in the greater Tukwila, Seattle area, and the world. In other words, we began to look at multiple ways at measuring student success. Tukwila School District has long been home to a large number of students representing almost every region of the world. Currently, our students represent cultures and lifestyles of over 65 countries. The rainbow of experiences and needs of our students have already impacted the new district's strategic direction for the next 4 years and beyond. For example, listening to students, the district has implemented the Covenant of Brothers program that utilizes a walking tall curriculum at the middle school to help transform boys to men by helping to develop their confidence for enhancing their academic, technical, and social skill set. We have already seen evidence of their growth and maturity, which helps them to improve their grades. Given this impact, in December 2017, the Tukwila School District began the process of becoming that learning organization, utilizing a systems thinking approach to create a learning community that supports and empowers students, staff, and families to become major influencers of the work in the district's classrooms. We are working together to make sure our entire district's work focuses on student engagement and that the opportunities help students reach their full potential. Whether that means students stopping first at a post-secondary institution or trade school, or working concurrently, or going right into an employment opportunity. Examples of the work include students making connections beyond the classroom at our annual career fair, where they connect with post-secondary providers and business and industry representatives. Beginning as early as elementary school, students are able to explore opportunities in our creative learning lab. Students are able to focus on guided pathways that are similar to the STEM professional and career and technical education pathways that they will have access to at our renovated high school and middle schools in 2020. Also at our Puget Sound Center and local colleges and universities. On moving forward, we had to take stock of our current condition. We first delved into the evolving city of Tukwila and studied the evolving city from the years of 1970 to the present, and its impact on the school district. There are more than 70 citizens of the greater Tukwila area who participated in this process in December 2017. From the taking stock sessions, the districts convened an additional 12 sessions of individuals where we were able to draft our new values, beliefs, our vision, and mission. And we are now ready. Our new goals represent countermeasures. Countermeasures that we must use to solve our problems and get rid of old, outdated reasons of why we won't do. We've had much dialogue about capacity and root causes. We spent as much time, on the other hand, celebrating the value of the city of Tukwila, its uniqueness, and its many advantages. We indeed confirmed during these sessions that we are a best-kept secret. Our district now provides wider opportunities for students to work at the City of Tukwila, Port of Seattle, the airport, and many, many more companies. Partnerships were formed with the Museum of Flight, and students are now able to experience the aviation industry. Thank you for all you do, business and industry and other organizations. With your continuous support, Tukwila School District students will stand ready to fill permanent opportunities in your industries because of the diverse education and training that is received in the district. They are ready to fill a variety of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math positions as technicians immediately. And with your guidance as tradesmen and professionals, as their experience evolves with you, they will be ready for more. Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Tukwila School District, we look forward to future partnering together. Thank you to the Tukwila staff who's present today as we Thank you, Rhonda, our Director of Communications, for being here. A big shout out to my friend and near Alan Eckberg and the City of Tukwila staff who work with us in major ways to help us achieve our goals. To the City Council members, thank you for your support. And to Dr. Susan Enfield, my Roadmap Project Region colleague, thank you for showing me the way. Thank you.
I am Susan Enfield. I'm the proud superintendent for Highline Public Schools, as my friend Dr. Berry said, serving here in the Roadmap region. And I want to thank Andrea and the Chamber for inviting us today. It's always a delight for me to share the good work that's happening in Highline Public Schools. I'm going to bookend this little presentation with what's most important other than our kids, and that's community, because we can't do this work alone, and which is why events like this are so incredibly important. But I want to say that I cannot certainly do this work alone, and I want to acknowledge that I have our Chief Communications Officer, Captain Carboni-Rogers, here, who makes me look and sound far smarter than I am. And equally, if not more important, we have our board president, Joe Van, and our board vice president, Bernie Dorsey, here with us as well. And I have to just say that no superintendent can be any bolder than his or her school board will let him or her be. I am incredibly fortunate to have a school board that not only allows us to be bold on behalf of our children, they expect it and they support it. So I want to publicly thank Joe and Bernie for their leadership and their support, because what you're going to see now wouldn't be happening without them. So I'm going to share some slides with you. There's a lot of information on here. I'm going to go at a pretty rapid pace, but all of this information is available on our website. And if you have any questions, even after the Q&A, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. So a snapshot of who we are in Highline. So we are a richly diverse school system, serving just under 20,000 students. And when I say richly diverse, as you see, we have almost 100 languages spoken across our district. And we're incredibly proud of that. We feel that our diversity is a tremendous asset, and you will see that reflected in our version 2.0 of our strategic plan that I'm going to share with you today. And I'm also happy to make this PowerPoint available to Andrea so she can share it with all of you, so you don't have to worry about screenshots, because I think that can be distracting for you. So we embarked in my first year. I'm beginning my 7th year as superintendent in Highline, and during my first year, we embarked on a strategic planning process. And that plan sunsetted last year. So we spent last year engaging with our staff and families and community on what we wanted to keep in the original plan and what we wanted to change. And what emerged from those year-long discussions were these 5 big goals that I'll talk a little bit about. The first is school culture. How are we creating schools that both children and adults alike want to be and will thrive in? Because nothing good will come out of a school that doesn't have a strong and positive culture. Growth and mastery. How do we ensure that all of our students are making growth towards mastery and standards? And we think that growth piece is very important, because we have children who come to us all over the continuum of learning. And a child who comes to us perhaps not reading at grade level may not be able to make it all up in 1 year, but we can help them make more than 1 year's worth of progress in 1 year so that they can catch up, and we're committed to that. Digital and media literacy. We had originally said we wanted our students to be tech savvy and tech literate, and what we found was that was getting people too focused on the technology and not about the critical thinking and problem solving that we really wanted our students to be doing. And so now we're focusing on how are we helping our students not just use technology responsibly and effectively, but how are we helping them consume the information that they are getting in so many formats and so in so much quantity today, and make good sense of it and be critical thinkers and not just accept what they see in print or online as fact. Fourthly, bilingual, biliterate, and this was a goal that remained from our original strategic plan. Our community they believe that speaking another language is incredibly vital. And we're close now to close to half of our students in Highline being already bilingual, biliterate. We want our students who come to us speaking as native English speakers to learn another language as well. We think that's an asset in the world that we're preparing our students for. And finally, the reason we all get out of bed every day working in school districts is high school graduation. We want our students to walk across that stage with a meaningful diploma that is a ticket to the future that they choose. And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about our promise. So many places, districts, and organizations alike have a vision or a mission. In Highline, we have a promise, because I think a promise conveys action. We're not just saying we're going to do something, we're making a promise to our students, our families, our community. And our promise is that every student in Highline Public Schools is known by name, strength, and need, and graduates prepared for the future they choose. We want our children to be equipped to make the choices for their own future, not somebody judging that for them. And this is what guides our work each and every day. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of the data that we've had. And this data will go up through, not this last year, 18, we don't have that updated yet. So this will go up through the 16-17 school year. But check online in a few weeks, we'll have our updated data on the website. So one of the things that we have done is look at how we approach discipline in Highline Public Schools. We want to make sure that, number one, our schools are safe, nurturing environments. That's number one. And that we also make sure that students are not removed from campus unless they absolutely have to be. So we absolutely, as you see here, will out of school suspend and when necessary expel a student for issues of safety. But we made a concerted effort, as you will see from that gray bar, to not pushing students out of school for minor infractions, for defiance. That's actually in many cases the number one reason students are out of school suspended, defiance. Show me a teenager who's not defiant, I'll show you a walking miracle. And I would argue that for those of us working in public education, our job is to take those tough moments and turn them into teachable moments. And so we really take an approach to creating alternatives to suspension, in-school suspension, building stronger relationships with students, and using our community, partnering with our community-based organizations to make sure that we're providing our students with the supports and services that they need. And we're also looking very seriously at disproportionality. So this is something that those of us in public urban systems, and I know Dr. Berry shares this commitment with me as well, that we need to look at who are the students that are most often getting out of school suspended and expelled. And we only have roughly 14% of our students in Highline are Black or African American. But as you can see, they were a large majority of our out of school suspensions or expulsions. Even more disturbing, our American Indian population in Highline is 1%, but they represent an inordinate number of out-of-school suspensions and expulsions. But what I'm proud to say is we're making progress. If you look at the bar chart on the graph on the right, you'll see that between the 12-13 and the 16-17 school year, those disproportionality numbers are going down. They're not where they need to be. In fact, a Burien City Council member said, well, shouldn't that be zero? Well, yes, it should, and that's what we're working toward. But I also believe it's important to celebrate progress because this is incredibly hard work. And if we don't celebrate the progress that our staff are making, it's going to be hard for them to keep that fire that we need them to have in keeping this work going. So we know we're on the right track. And we've also seen our graduation rates go up significantly. For the 2017 school year, we saw an overall rate, I'm sorry, I was looking at the bottom number 75, and I said, well, that's not right, of almost 79%, up from 62% in 2013. And I'll talk a little bit at the end about what we attribute this to, but what we're most pleased about is every group of students is going up. This isn't about one group of students rising and others being left behind. If you look at those bars, there's not a group of students that we aren't seeing graduate at greater levels. And by the way, for people who say we're lowering the bar, not so. The graduates in Washington State are having to pass more tests, higher standards than ever before. And you'll also see the number of advanced placements tests our students are taking coming up. So we're incredibly proud of this, not where we need to be, but we are, again, making progress on the right track. This is these next two slides are important because as Dr. Berry said, it's important that we know our community deeply. And we have a richly diverse community, and to paint them with a broad brush when we look at disaggregating our data does not tell the whole story. So we made the decision a few years ago to further disaggregate our data. So we now break out beyond just Pacific Islander and Asian. We look at what our predominant groups are. So we break out by Cambodian, Vietnamese, Samoan, because those are some of our significant groups, and we want to know how those students in particular are doing. Similarly, we have a large Ethiopian and Somali population. What we realized a few years ago when we were only disaggregating by Black African American we wondered, were African American kids getting lost? Guess what? They were. Because now when we disaggregate, we see that an African American student is not making gains at the same rate that perhaps our Somali and Ethiopian students are. This is just our 5-year graduation rate, which again is slightly higher as it is in most districts, going on the right track. And then people say, well, what do you attribute this to, your increased graduation rates? And I'll say 3 things. The first one you already saw, shifting discipline practices. If they're not in school, it's less likely they're going to graduate. You don't have to go to grad school for that, it's just a fact. So we're keeping them in school and providing them counseling and support services when they make a bad decision. But also, we have to give them a reason to come to school. And one of the things that I hear too often when I talk with our students is, I'm bored. I'm bored. So, and I'm sure that those of you who are parents hear that too from children at home. So one of the things we've tried to do is provide much more rigorous and relevant coursework. So as you'll see, the number of students taking an advanced placement class has gone from 664 to over 1,000. Similarly, the number of students who are taking the exam has gone from 448 to 805. And it's not just AP, it's also computer science and electives that we know really, really hook students and make them want to be there. Now this is an area where we have a lot of work to do, because this is the number of students who scored a 3 or higher on at least one exam. I simply refuse to believe, I do not take it as fact, that only 232 students in Highline Public Schools are capable of getting a 3 or higher on an AP exam. That is something that we as the adults have to figure out, and we are. So we're talking about what kinds of supports can we put in place. We're actually providing each of our high schools with some release time for one of their AP teachers to do some coordination and professional development this year, so we can figure out what can we do so that our students can demonstrate what we know they're capable of demonstrating. And finally, this notion of career-connected learning, and this is where all of you are so important. Giving our students a window into the world of work is critical. They need to see that high school diploma as a ticket to something, not just something that they have to do because someone said so. And when we give them a glimpse into what the work world is like, they understand why they're in school and why they're doing what they have to do. And so these numbers represent between 2012 and 2017. Over 7,000 of our students have had career exploration experiences, and over 1,700 have had internships. We've invested in creating a college career access department in our district because we think this is that important. And the bridges that we're building with our community and the partnerships that we're creating with business and industry to make these happen are paramount. And I would argue that's the third prong in what we attribute our increased graduation rates to be. And so you've had enough of me. I think it's always best for you to see and hear from our kids themselves. And I said I wanted to bookend this with this notion of community. So this is a video that we put together. Actually, Tova Tupper on Catherine's team did this for us to really promote our new strategic plan. And by the way, I'm a big believer in party favors. So each of you has, Catherine, will you hold it up? Each of you has next to your seat a little summary document of our strategic plan, which is yours to take with you. And this is a video where we talk about that. I just want to take one moment to brag, if I may. This young man, Abel, is headed to Harvard later this month, if he isn't already there. His family's from Ethiopia. He earned over $400,000 in scholarship money and graduated, not only got into Harvard, he had to choose between Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and others. He's a remarkable young man, and that is the face of Highline. Every one of our students is brilliant, beautiful, and brimming with promise, and as a community, we can help unlock it. So I thank you for being a part of this, and I'm going to let you enjoy this video before we go to Q&A.
Every student in Highline Public Schools.
Every student
is known by name, strength, and need. I am known by name, strength, and need.
And graduates prepare for the future they choose.
For the future I choose.
For the future I choose.
So that we graduate with technical and problem-solving skills
Necessary to live and work responsibly in a digital world.
Students will graduate bilingual by literate.
Me graduaré bilingüe y biliterado.
各位学生也非常的在通常韩文的。
Our schools are welcome.
We will succeed. All students will succeed.
I will succeed.
I will succeed.
Our foundation is equity, instruction, relationships, and support.
We will disrupt institutional biases. We will end inequitable practices.
So all students have an equal chance at success.
So I will have an equal chance at success.
So I will have an equal chance at success.
We will reduce achievement and opportunity gaps.
Our instruction will be culturally responsive, inclusive, and based on standards.
We will have open two-way communication.
With students, families, and community partners.
We will support students' social, emotional, and academic needs.
Every student in Highline Public Schools.
Every student. It's known by name,
Strength
and need.
We are known by name, strength, and need. And graduates prepared for the future they choose.
for the future I choose.
For the future we choose.
One thing that stuck out to me was hearing all the kids talk about success. And there's no, secret that's why we chose to bring back our Success Foundation. So the Chamber does have a new 501c3 nonprofit philanthropic arm, and it is called the Success Foundation. And exactly as mentioned in the video, success means lots of different things for lots of different people, but we believe in creating opportunity so that more in our community have access to what success is for them so that they can define that for themselves. Which is why we're so thrilled to be able to bring you this inaugural luncheon event today that more clearly highlights our organization's promise to work with students, to work with our community, to bring more of those success stories to this stage. So I'm going to invite Dr. Enfield and Dr. Berry back to the stage. We have a few questions for the panel discussion really briefly, and then I do have my cell phone handy for people who are going to be texting me those questions, and it should be on, and then you guys can just kind of pass it back and forth to yourselves. Perfect. So again, as I mentioned, our chamber is really focused on providing those opportunities and building success, for our region. And we are working to be able to do so. Those surveys that you have on your table, collecting the data, sharing the data and the information, offering more mentorships, job shadowing opportunities, being able to share and connect that information with other members, with other partners, is absolutely vital. But how else can we truly engage with the school districts? What else can businesses do to be more involved? Whoever wants to take it away.
So first of all, disclaimer, I was not clapping for myself, I was clapping for our kids in the video. Catherine gave me a little dirty look when I started clapping, but I get very emotional when I see that. I'm so incredibly proud of our students and staff. So how can community be engaged? Well, obviously there are, internships, job shadows, that sort of thing. But I think one area where we still have work to do, and it sounds like this is something that Tukwila is doing a good job of, is really expanding mentorship opportunities. Identifying more mentors in the community to get to know with and work with our students. And so I think that if you have time or are interested in being a mentor and want to contact one of us about how to make that happen, I think that's great. And the other thing that anybody can do anytime, and it doesn't cost anything or take any training or preparation, is when you meet a young person, whether they're 5, 15, 18, 10, ask them, what will you do when you graduate? Don't ask them where they want to go to college, because if they're not thinking about college, now they think they have the wrong answer. Just ask them, what will you do when you graduate? And then listen and figure out how we can support them.
I think also we need to open our doors to our teachers. Many of them have been teaching for years, and they really do not have a handle on what the workforce is all about. And so to change the inside of the classroom, we have to change the folks who are the designers of the curriculum. I ask you to come up closer to help us redesign our curriculum. I ask you to stop by our classrooms and do some co-teaching continue to help our students out as well. But I think for our teachers, and I think I'm in a different spot than you, I'm first year, and I am from the CTE background, the career technical ed background. You probably picked that up. And I do know after all of our formal education, the majority of people will seek employment. And we have to make sure that they are competitive when they stand at the door with other entry-level employees to get the job.
Perfect, thank you. Along those same lines, offering opportunities, for our students. Lots of businesses might want to offer an internship program or an externship program, but not really know where to start or how to start. Do each of your districts offer support, help, resources, for businesses that are interested in starting that?
Sure, we have a career counselor in our high schools, but again, our teachers are very traditional. And so when a person stops at the door and say jobs, and you didn't say tests, you aren't asking about the assessment tests they take, they may push back a little bit. And so it's okay to stop at central office with some of us who will help open the door and have meetings with those that are high school and other buildings. Because for Tukwila, we're at the beginning stages of having that conversation about continuous improvement. We're still in the mode, our philosophy of the state test is the only measurement for success. But my view is when the test is all over, you are not at your cocktail parties in your neighborhood right after the kids graduate with them saying, where are they going to school and what's the GPA, what's left. It is the job that they have. And so stop at our office, the superintendent's office, our communication office, and let's help you enter our district without the resistance.
Thank you. And we, since we're larger than Tukwila, we have the benefit of having staff identified at the central office level to lead this work. So we have a wonderful woman, Michelle Tomasian, who is our career access manager, and she coordinates all of the internships and job starting. She does a fabulous job. So if you contact me, I can put you in touch with the right people because we're always open and happy to have people who want to come into our schools and work with our children.
Perfect. And that is also part of the survey that's on your table. If you are a business that's interested in hosting an internship or externship program, the chamber is also obviously a huge resource to be able to, connect you with resources with the school district. So I appreciate that information. So I do have some text messages that are coming in. So I think this one is probably directed mostly, I can tell it's not from Catherine Caberni Rogers.
Or from my board members.
Not very well. I can see who's texting me. But this is from someone who, this is directed mostly to Dr. Enfield, I think, because of some of your comments that you made on in-school suspension and, lowering those expulsion rates. How do you maintain safety, especially as it relates to maybe some gang issues that might be happening, within the schools, with that program?
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to say it's not a program. We don't have a program around discipline, out-of-school suspension, reduction. It's about creating a culture, right? It's about creating a culture of safety, respect, where students are known by name, strength, and need. And I understand that there's a lot happening around the country now that's incredibly frightening when it comes to school safety. And so what we have done, number one, is we've always been clear that it's always safety first. And so remember, we're entering really our 6th year of this work. So we've done intensive trainings with our administrative staff, with our teachers, everything from how to respond in the event of a lockdown to how to de-escalate a student who maybe for whatever reason is acting out. So our staff has received and continues to receive multiple trainings. We also have incredibly strong partnerships with our local law enforcement agencies. So I and my chief operations officers meet quarterly with our police chiefs and are in regular communication with them as well to make sure that our staff is safe. We also have school resource officers on our high school campuses too. And we're really grateful to our city partners that help with that, especially at Burien and CTAC, Des Moines, and King County Sheriff. So it's really a partnership, but I want to be clear that at the end of the day, it comes down to our staff on our buildings being supported to know our students well and prevent tragedy before it occurs. Prevention is the thing that we really need to focus on, and having staff that really can know our kids. And I will tell you too, given what's been happening in recent months, our students are coming forward and letting us know when they see or hear something so that we can intervene appropriately and prevent things from happening. So we take this very seriously and do everything that we can with law enforcement to keep our schools safe.
And we actually do the same thing. Our staff is well trained. We also have police officer at our high school. We are adding one this fall to our middle school as well. I meet with the chief of police each month, and we go over all of the incidents together, and we're being very proactive about the safety of students.
So you talked a little bit about being, proactive about creating that, culture, of safety and inclusion. How else can the school district be, proactive with creating that culture of inclusion, when you're looking at the career paths, at home? So, talking to, parents about, look, if Johnny's not a football star and you don't have money in the bank account to send him to, for your school, what are those relationships and that communication, or those communication tools the district's giving to parents so that they can have those dinner table conversations with their kids at home?
We are very deliberate for the entire year. This past year, we instituted family engagement evenings, and twice a month on Thursday night, we are talking with parents, and we've had a large turnout of parents. We have an average of 80 parents for each Thursday night, talking about alternative career pathways and helping them understand. And we know that students select where they're headed if parents are well informed. And so we are making sure that we do that, and so it is new in Tukwila that we are talking deliberately to parents to help shape the dinner table conversation.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. We have multiple mechanisms to engage with parents and families, and in addition, we've started an annual event called College Con. That's for middle school students and families. It's held at Highline College that really provides lots of resources. We've also made a concerted effort on assisting our students and families with filling out their FAFSA. So regardless of, we want to make sure students have every option available to them. So whether or not a student is clear that they want to go to college, get the FAFSA filled out so it's an option for you. And that's the thing that we have to impress upon our kids. You may not know right now, but don't limit your options moving forward by not taking advantage of everything you can now in order to make that happen. So we've invested heavily in that, but I will say too that we are still working to find more and better effective ways to partner with families so that they understand. I think this is, but I'm also going to say I feel really strongly about this, and I've said this around tables with the governor, with workforce, with everyone, that this is an area where I think school districts need help. There should be a region-wide campaign, and it should be something like, did you know that with a high school diploma and the right critical thinking, problem solving, and mathematical skills, you can go on and, and do these sort of jobs that pay really good living wage. Did you know that with an AA degree, these jobs are available to you? In this region, good paying jobs do not all require a 4-year degree. And I think it's incumbent upon us, but we can't do it alone as a district. If we were great marketers, we'd be in marketing. We're not. We're in the business of education. And so this is where I'm really pushing on, like the Business Roundtable and Chambers and others. How do we get that communication campaign out so our parents and families can help their children with those conversations and see the plethora of options that are available for them?
Great. Another question related to teachers and having those partners, in the classroom. What is the relationship with, how many teachers are, been teaching for 30 years? How many are new teachers? Can we talk a little bit about, what that structure is and, what that support mechanism is to make sure that there are, long-term and, maybe newer teachers, all working together and what those resources are?
For Tukwila, the majority of our teachers are long-term. Most of them have more than 15 15 to 20 years. The retirement right now is pretty high. They're starting to leave, and we're replacing them with younger teachers with a different kind of skill set. And so for us though, even those who have been there a long time, we have Smart Wednesdays where they get continuous professional development in their fields. We make sure that they are on field trips with us to keep up with business and industry. And so we're providing quite a bit of training with them. I actually go out with them a lot. I like the workforce development area to help them see what's in the state of Washington. For me, I love Microsoft. I'm the person who used to write all the Microsoft Office books for school districts. And so one thing I did when I first got here is to take teachers to Microsoft who had not been there before. And so our teachers are being introduced differently to what the state of Washington offers.
So I would say that our overall teaching force probably trends a little bit younger, but I would say too that that mirrors a trend that we see nationally. So as Dr. Berry alluded, we're going to see a wave of teacher retirements in the coming years. And so what I think that means is that we have to, number one, get very, very smart about recruiting and growing our own. And so we actually have a program, and also, our commitment is to hire the most qualified and most diverse staff that we can in Highline. What we hear from our students time and again is, I want to see someone who looks like me in the classroom. And so we have partnered with Western Washington University in a grant from the state to create a bilingual teacher pipeline. So we have identified paraprofessionals. So these are support staff in our schools, and they are going through, they're supported to go through a 2-year track to get their teaching degrees so that they can come back and be bilingual teachers. So these are people from the community employed by the district who want to go on the teaching track, and we're able to help them do that. So growing our own and creating more pathways, and then getting smarter about providing the right supports for teachers to stay. And we work constantly with our teachers union and HR department and others on what are the things that our teachers are telling us that they need, and we work incredibly hard to respond to that.
Great. So I think we have time for probably 2 more questions. This question is about the trades. So we know this, from the chamber. We have so many members that work with the trades. And how are we communicating, with the trades, knowing that there's going to be a huge deficit with the trades, and that, like we said, every child's success isn't dependent on, what that 4-year degree is. So specific more towards trades.
We have invited employers in from the trades to sit on our advisory teams. We have invited the apprenticeship mobile unit from the college level to bring that mobile unit to our district to make sure that students know that it is a viable opportunity. And again, it's talking to parents. Parents are very, very nervous that their kids will not be able to earn a living wage. And so again, we talk to parents quite a bit. We have 2 new quality engagement officers that actually go out into the community, even on the weekends, to where they can meet with parents at churches, at community events, to talk about the wide variety of careers. And for the trades, we have to say the name, plumbing. And we have to say, and plumbers make this amount of money. We have to be very direct and say, like I did, oh, you go to college, guess what? Your student loan bill is. But when you're a plumber, you can come right out of school with no debt. And you have 4 to 10 years on a person who has gone to college. And so you're accumulating your resources quicker. And to promote the trades too, we have to also promote that it's okay to earn money. In education, we talk about knowledge only. And some of our educators, we say, oh, no. Please, Dr. Berry, please don't say training. We are educators and we provide education. But at the end of the day is you need to prepare the students to work in a living wage job so that they can live the lifestyle they want and be contributing citizens of their community. And one way to do that, we need to know it's not either or, because I was a technician in the IT area. And so it did not prevent me from going to college, but it didn't say I had to go either, because I earned my way through my PhD with the jobs that I had as a technician.
And we're really fortunate in Highline to have the Puget Sound Skills Center that some of you may be aware of. It's a consortium, so Tukwila is part of it, as is Federal Way and Tahoma. And this is basically, for those of us who are a little older, vocational education, as it was known. And so across Washington State now there are skills centers. And so we have programs, everything from firefighting to culinary to DigiPen to all sorts of things, courses that students are taking during the day, many of them leading dental assistant to industry certification that they take with them after graduation. And I invite you, it's a wonderful place to come and visit. And if you're interested, you can contact me and we can set that up. But the experiences that our students are getting there are tremendous. And each of those programs at the Skills Center has an industry advisory board. So for whatever area the students are taking classes, there are industry experts that are providing sort of guidance to the school on what is the latest and greatest that our students need. But I just want to share one really, really quick anecdote. A few years ago at our annual State of the Schools event in Highline, we had the former CEO of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, Ray Connor, who's an alum of Highline, come and interview one of our students who had just graduated the year before, a young woman. And she was now working as a machinist at Boeing, straight out of high school. Because when I heard Ray Connor on TV saying we've got a shortage coming of machinists and others, and by the way, he started as a machinist before he became the CEO of Boeing. And I said, I got your pipeline right here, friend. I mean, I literally picked up the phone after reading that article and said, yo, Ray, let's talk. And so I didn't actually say, yo, Ray, but I said, hey, Ray, I think we can create a great partnership here. And he's a wonderful supporter of education. But we actually have partnered with Boeing so that they now interview our kids at the Skills Center to see if they have the right skills, aptitude, et cetera, to start there. And what I loved about that interview, and this is what I tell people, why public education? Why should we all care? Why should we all invest? Why should we all pay attention? Because that young woman who a year before had graduated from Highline was, and don't ask me specifically what she was doing, but she was doing something that sealed something on a jet that you or I could be flying sometime in the near future. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm 34,000 feet in the air, I want everything on my airplane sealed to perfection. And that means that every student that we graduate from our system needs to be prepared for those jobs. And so I think that we're getting much better as school systems, partnering with industry to make the case to our students and families that there's a wide menu, a wide variety of career opportunities in this region. Because I do believe that as public school systems, we have an obligation to support the local economy as well and make sure that we're preparing the workforce that will help this economy grow.
Perfect. Great. Well, I think that's all the time we have. So again, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Let's do it.